Thanks for tuning in, guys. You're listening to Ace Comicals. I'm Greg Driver. I'm joined by Rahul, Johnny, and Leon Everett. Let's go! Hi, guys. Welcome to the show. It's episode 42, and we've got all three of us back for some reason. That's right. So, I'm joined today by Ray and Leon. So say hi, Ray.
Hey, dude.
And say hi, Leon.
Hey.
That's right, all of us. Okay, so, I guess we've done a fair bit of reading in the absence as well.
Oh God, no. Never enough. Definitely not read enough, but I've read some stuff. So, yeah.
Okay, so where have you been, Ray?
I've been on holiday. I've been at the beach, and that was great. Because I don't normally do beach holidays, but it was nice just to do nothing, like, covered by sand for a week. Like, it was cool, because I love swimming, and I don't get to do it very often. Like, living in London, it's really expensive to go swimming, and it's also really hard to go to the pool and stuff. And I kind of forgot how much I loved it, and also how good it is for, like, I've got a bad knee, and like swimming, literally for hours a day for a week has made me feel so much better. It was amazing. So I feel really rejuvenated. It's really good. How was your guys' like bank holiday weekend and stuff?
Yeah. So I'd ask you how you've been, Leon, but you were in my house like literally 2 days ago. So in that 1 day space between you being at my house and not being at my house, how have you been?
I've been in a tired stupor recovering from the weekend.
What did you guys get up to?
Video games.
Well, that's the thing. We were just chilling out. There was a lot of talking, a lot of video game action, and a lot of board game and card game action. But it was all very. We're all in our 30s now, chilled out. So I don't know why I'm so tired.
Yeah, can't party like we used to. But it was fun.
I gather you guys all played Dixit or Dixit, depending on how you pronounce it. The board game about like these. Is it like it's a bunch of cards and they all have strange, vivid imagery on them, and you have to place one down and like describe a thing that it could be describing, or give a phrase that it could be describing, and then everyone else has to put down a card that could also describe the same thing, because they're all such oblique, distracted, like strange images. And whoever guesses the closest is the winner. Like, is that the one I'm thinking of?
That's kind of right. Yeah, we did play Dixit. So the way I have become accustomed to the game, the rules that I played were you were given a hand of cards, and you are asked basically if you are designated storyteller, then you have to give a word or a phrase or a sentence that comes to mind when you look at a particular card. Now, you don't want it to be too easy that everyone can guess it and know which card it is, but you don't want it to be too cryptic that nobody gets it, because that's how you get that sweet spot where you get enough points. Because if everyone guesses it, you don't get any points.
It's really clever, and then the artwork is in service of that whole gameplay method, because it's like these fantastical worlds, or like really abstract or surreal things. Like, I think there was one which is like an Escher staircase with a dice on it and a horse in the corner and stuff. And the reason I bring it up is because you mentioned it in the group chat, and it turns out I actually played it while I was in Italy, because my girlfriend bought it for one of her friends, for her birthday, and I had to play that game, but in a language that I don't understand, and it was really fucking hard.
Yeah, no, we played Dixit, and it was pretty cool. And yeah, it was fun getting different people's interpretation of this artwork and everything else, and how different people look at different pictures and things. The cool thing about Dixit as well is that different people will see different things in those pictures, because the closer and the longer you look at the picture, the more things start to pop out. So, like, there's a picture of a, I guess I can only describe it as a raccoon with bat wings standing on top of a skyscraper, while, it's all in red and orange, and there's things creeping up from the bottom, and some people would say that's flames, but when I look at it, I see tentacles. You see? It's like, it's how do I say? deliberately ambiguous sometimes, I think.
It's deliberately ambiguous, and then it's kind of like a really cool friendship Rorschach test. Because if you look at something and then like your mate across the table sees exactly the same thing as you, it's like, shit, we're in alignment. Like there's something about our unique group of, our unique grouping, or the way that we think, or the way that we discuss, that lets us see both the same thing in this really unique, abstract way.
That's interesting, because we played it in pairs as well.
Ah, okay.
So we had a team game of Dixit where it was me and Leon pitted against some other teams of people that were at my house at the time. And it just went to show that me and Leon were on a completely different plane to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we did come second in the end, didn't we?
Yeah.
We weren't too bad.
No, but some of the stuff we were coming out with was like, I think there was one particular card, and it was like a dark mouth with like a train track going into it, like a mine shaft, and we said Disney. So
I can see it. I know which one you're talking about, and I can see it. Yeah.
But obviously nobody else could. So, but yeah, no. There was some pretty cool answers that people were coming out with for some of the cards and things, like some of the things that people were picking out and stuff. Like, and people were telling stories that hung on like a single detail in one card, and it's just like so cryptic and minor that it's like, how did you spot that? Like, how did you put that together? I don't know how you put that together in your head, but I respect you for that kind of thing, So yeah, it was a cool game overall, and it's nice. It's pretty fun to play. Among other
the
games,
artwork is lovely in it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we played a few other games as well. We played a Cyanide and Happiness game, which is kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but Cyanide and Happiness comics.
And it's more like storytelling in terms of the setup of a joke.
So, like a standard 3-panel Cyanide and Happiness comic, you would put together, like, someone takes a card off the top of the deck and puts it down, and then the other players have to put the card that they think best. They put a card either in front or behind that, then the other players have to put down the card that they think best finishes that off, and whoever makes the best joke wins the round, basically.
Oh, kind of like visual Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Where everyone takes it in turns. Or that game where you write a sentence and then you fold it over and then the next person writes a sentence. Like that, but with comic strips.
Yeah, but you can actually see what comes before. And then it's like the best finisher wins kind of thing.
That sounds
well. Best panel to finish it off. Yeah, it's fun. And then we also played Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, which is probably one of my favourite games.
Was that one of yours, Greg?
Was it? I don't know. You tell me, Ray.
I think it was. Sounds like one of yours.
Yeah, you build spells and you throw spells at each other, and you build ridiculous wacky spells and take health off each other, and last wizard standing twice in a row wins, and it's like a battle royale.
Cool. And
I love one of the reasons I love that game is because it's kind of like curse words.
I knew it.
Yeah, because it's like there's a whole arc in curse words where you've got all these, like, I say an arc, I think it's just part of an arc, but it's all the different wizards of the whole world competing in some kind of battle royale / tournament thing for Syzygy's entertainment, and also to decide who gets to go through to Earth next and fight Wizard and try and take him down for Syzygy, basically. It's like to try and find the strongest kind of thing. And it's kind of cool, and it feels very like that in its kind of madcap magical framing. So yeah, it's kind of like the way that Epic Battle Wizards is done, it's kind of like that meets Rick and Morty, I guess.
Oh, you had me until the end.
Yeah. Well, it's along those lines. That's the best way I can describe it. But it's really good.
Okay.
And it's really fun.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Next time we're all together, we should play it. And apart from that, there was just lots of video games, lots of Smash Bros, lots of other video games like Street Fighter, and I think we played Dragon Ball. Yeah. It was fun. It was a good weekend, and like I said, we're in our 30s now, so we we don't really party like we used to, but we just sat and sort of had a chilled weekend. It was nice.
I mean, we say that, but we did have some late nights.
Oh yeah, we had late nights, but it wasn't like we were like doing
beer pong and solo cups.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not that kind of no, but yeah, it was good. It was fun. Yeah, so that was our weekend, and then after that, Monday, is when I got my reading done, and obviously some of these I'd actually read before, and then I read before and after. So I guess we should crack on with the comics that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to open this up with a Ace Comicals favourite, and we all love ice cream here, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't leave me hanging, man.
I thought it was rhetorical. Everyone loves ice cream.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love ice cream?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you like Neapolitan ice cream?
I like 1/3 of Neapolitan ice cream.
Okay, which third do you like?
Chocolate, I think.
The chocolate third. Oh my god, you picked the weirdest one. So this is Ice Cream Man number 6. The title of the comic is Strange Neapolitan. And the way I've heard this described in various other places of the internet, and kind of like the buzz description for this tends to be that it's kind of like a twisted sliding doors.
Oh,
so okay. The way the comics work, the movie Sliding Doors.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it described like this in a couple of places of the internet, and I think I can't come up with anything better. So. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's like you open the comic, it starts off in full colour, and as most of these Ice Cream Man books go, guy buys an ice cream. He orders 3 flavours, 3 scoops. It's like strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, Neapolitan. Now, the rest of the book is his life unfolding in 3 different ways. And the book is done in this kind of like 3 stripe setup on each page, where you've got the top, which is strawberry, the middle, which is vanilla, and the bottom, which is chocolate. And the artwork is shades of those colours through like almost like it's the usual artwork, but through a filter. So the top has like a pink filter over it, the middle has like a yellow filter over it, and the bottom has a brown filter over it, and everything is in shades of those colours. It's all very very I can't think of a word to describe it, but it's really cool. So you've got pink, yellow and brown, which is Neapolitan ice cream, which is and yeah, this book is misery and darkness in 3 flavours. So yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Each one is equally as unsettling, and misery and, horror and just horrible stuff lies at the end of each of the 3 paths. And some of them are a little bit more, how do I put this? Insidious than the others. Like, one of them, the brown path, the chocolate path, is ultimately like what I would say the straight up horror path, because weird stuff happens, horrific events and whatever else. Kind of the weird that we get with issue 5, which was the Ballad of a Falling Man. And it's kind of that kind of stuff where you've got like the vultures turning up and things like that, and you end up with it's the most out there and surreal and horrific one, like a bad dream, like a nightmare. The middle one is the vanilla one, which I think is the worst of the 3. Like, this is the one that hurts me the most. The top one, the pink one, is the strawberry one, and I'll come to the vanilla one last because that's the one that hurts the most. But the strawberry one, he on his way back down the road, he bumps into a young woman, and they get married and they have a child, and then something horrible happens at the end, and it gets very, very Ice Cream Man. The middle one, he's coming back down the road with the ice cream and bumps into a dog, and the dog's injured, and he takes the dog and gets the dog's leg fixed. And then this is where it breaks my heart, because this dog's actually missing, and there's a missing poster, and he chooses to ignore the missing poster and hides the dog in a house somewhere, doesn't let the dog out, and goes back and visits the dog and keeps the dog for himself. That destroyed me. Like, that was the worst one. Because that's really selfish and really, like, if there's something terrible inside someone, then that is that is like, because there's a part of this book where he's looking at an ATM and it spells out a message, there's something horrible inside you, or something like that. And that middle path is just, I don't know why that's the worst one for me, but it's the worst one. Can you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, because it's not violence or torture or anything. It's just bad person acting super selfishly.
Yeah, and it's not even the dog knows what's going on, The dog's just happy to have somebody that loves him and whatever, and he's been kept prisoner by this guy. And it's just like depriving the dog of the world, and depriving the dog's original family of the dog that they're obviously looking for, and they've probably given up on by that point, and I don't like it.
Oh my god, that sounds horrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like a really horrible Run Lola Run.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the other two are any kind of picnic, because in the last one, he gets stabbed in the knee by a guy wearing a bird mask, and then a bird climbs out of his chest. And in the strawberry path, they have a baby. The baby dies, and the mother becomes an alcoholic, and then something happens to her, and then he becomes an alcoholic.
I would have said spoilers, but all of this sounds like you would expect it from the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this comic. I really do. I think it's great. And, as always, the artwork's fantastic. Never complain about the artwork in this book. It's just always great. I love the way that everything is framed and placed on the page. And I just love the way that, like, Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran do that with this book, It's just, it's just so great. And some of the panel work in here is fantastic as well, because the cool thing about the panels in this book, the panel work, is that the panels fit the particular pacing of the path. So the paths, as they go across through the pages, like these 3 bars on each page, like, the panels fit the pacing, and the pacing is like how the panels bring out the pacing in each path, like how we've described this kind of stuff before, where it's like panels laid over larger panels and things, and it's kind of perfectly done, because some tales are slower than others and things like that, but it just works perfectly. I think it's great like that.
Yeah, Martin Morazzo is a fantastic artist and fantastic,
he is.
Just panel constructor, and like a brief shout out for another comic that he's doing currently that I'm reading called She Could Fly, which I think I mentioned in the past, but I just recently read issue number 2, and it's the same level of unsettling, creepy tension.
Yeah.
That I think he brings really well to Ice Cream Man.
It's great, and Ice Cream Man is just this full of creepy tension, and this one is particularly full of creepy tension. And just unsettling actions of human race and stuff, and it's just great. It's just unsettling. It's creepy. There's depressing endings to it, and it's just like, yeah. Because like the vanilla one appears like a happy ending, but I don't think it's a happy ending. No way. But yeah, no, I love that book, and yeah, it's just brilliantly written, and I have to talk about it every time I get one. I can't not mention it on the cast because I just enjoy it so much, and you guys need to catch up, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's always on the list. Like, I think I'm not that far behind, and it's one of those, like, I read the first couple of issues a few times each because they've got that much to pour over. So yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up to 6 on this one.
No, this one is great, and I think it's just one of my favourites because it's just the way that it travels these three paths at once. And I think that's a cool thing for a comic to do. And the way they've done it is really good as well, because it works really well. The way they've actually done that and put that together and managed to achieve that is just absolutely fantastic. So that one was Ice Cream Man number 6, published by Image Comics. We've got writer W. Maxwell Prince. We've got artist and cover artist Martin Morazzo, with colours by Chris O'Halloran. A variant colour by Christian Ward. We've got design for the book by Good Old Neon, and lettering by Good Old Neon. Not that there is much lettering in this book, because I forgot to mention, actually, it is mainly silent, and where there are like certain noises that need to be accentuated, or noises that are given flesh, shall we say, by letters and speech bubbles, the lettering is awesome in the way that it is used to illustrate these few sparse sounds, and the way that it's employed is great. And there's some really cool moments where it's like the particular noises that they pick out and the things they pick to illustrate are brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it's just such a great piece of work. And that one shall forever sit in the box of favourites, I think. Definitely. So up next on our list, we have something for you to talk about, Ray, and it's a game.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning that I played Hollow Knight while I was on holiday, because I took my Switch with me. And I think I've mentioned on the cast a few times that it's really hard for me to sink hours into something, especially when it's challenging and it's testing my patience. And Hollow Knight is definitely one of those kind of games it's quite difficult and requires a lot of patience. And I'm 15 hours into it now, and that is unprecedented for me. So if you don't know what Hollow Knight is, it's like this very limited color palette, 2D platformer, Metroidvania style, Souls-like kind of game, where you play this needle wielding insect who's traversing through this world after it's after the fact, after the apocalypse, or after some tragedy has befallen it, and this world is really empty and somber. And it reminds me of Dark Souls in that way, because just the setting is really grim and depressing. And you're watching the dust of the world and the remnants of the world play out, and it has the Souls-like cyclical nature of the game, where you have to keep pushing forward, and every little new thing you traverse into is this additional level of information, which helps you get a little step further. And it's just this whole thing about persistence until you succeed. And it's really good. It really held my attention for so long, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, even 15 hours in. And the art style is just lovely. If you like cute with a tinge of sadness and depression, then it'll be right up your alley. And it's just gorgeous. It's a really well constructed game. It's a damn fine game. So I'd recommend that, Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I've been watching a mutual friend of ours play it on stream. AntAskew. He's been sort of streaming it on Twitch.
I've watched him play it, which is partly the reason I picked it up, because I saw how much fun he was having with it.
Yeah. And it does look pretty cool. It looks like something that I will have to shove on my list. It's on there alongside the likes of Dead Cells.
Is it Dead Cells? Would love Dead Cells, yeah.
Yeah, because people keep telling me, Greg, it's Metroidvania. Why are you not playing that?
I'd say Hollow Knight is more of a Metroidvania than Dead Cells, but Dead Cells has this. It's more that the world is roguelike or rogue-lite, I think is the term,
so
where it's randomized and procedurally generated. But you get to keep all of these really cool weapons which combine in really interesting ways, and it feels really good to control. I think you'd dig both of them, but they're two very different types of style, gameplay in some ways.
I'll have to check those out. Definitely.
Oh, and on a Switch-related note, by the time this episode comes out, one of my favorite games of this year, which is a top-down mech strategy game called Into the Breach, which was previously only on the PC, and it's by the same team who'd made FTL, Faster Than Light, which is another top-down strategy game. I bloody adore this game. I put so many hours into it, and it's the closest I've come to feeling like being in a mech and making those really intense strategic, like anime mech decisions where you blast a rocket, but it flies past the villain. But what you're really doing is hitting the wall behind them, and it pushes them into an ocean of lava and stuff. Like, it's really good. And now you can play it on the Switch. So if you're into that kind of stuff, that's Into the Breach.
So what's that team called? Sorry.
Oh God, you put me on the spot here. 1 second. Sorry, I'll have to look this up. Into the Breach is by Subset Games, who did Games. FTL Faster Than Light.
Cool. And who is Hollow Knight by?
I think it's like relatively unknown. Give me a second to look that up. I should really know the history of these. It's an Australian studio called Team Cherry.
Cool.
And Hollow Knight's been out for a while, but it's recently had like a second coming because it came out on the Switch, and everybody's been raving about it.
Sweet. So, moving on from there, it's my next pull, which is Batman Kings of Fear. Now, this is a 6-issue miniseries, number 1 of which I'm about to talk about now. And this is a Batman thing. This came out last Wednesday, I believe, on the 22nd. Yes, it did. And this is nostalgia, I guess is the best way to describe it, and the reason I bought it. It's by people, like Batman veterans. I will give you some names. And it's a good opening to a new Batman story, and the story's all brand new, but the artwork, it looks like it's been sort of like whipped from some of the best 90s comics that were Batman comics, some of the best Batman 90s comics. So it kind of does suffer a little bit, but I'll come to that in a moment. But yeah, it's that kind of stuff. So we have Scott Peterson and Kelly Jones are the main two behind this. Scott Peterson's the writer. He was a former Batman editor. And Kelly Jones, who has worked on various other Batman titles. Kelly Jones is known as a Nightfall cover artist. He penciled Batman from issue 515. He's worked on Batman, Dark Joker, The Wild, and the Vampire Batman trilogy. Scott James Peterson is the former Batman editor, as I mentioned. We have colorist Michelle Madsen, Rob Lee on letters. Kelly Jones and Madsen made the cover. Bill Sinovich is the variant cover. We've got a credit for Dave Vilgos as the Warden, which I'm not sure what a Warden does in comics, but he's credited as the Warden, and James S. Rich as the group editor. So, as always, Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. So, as we flick through this book, it starts off. Joker's got a warehouse full of goons. Batman comes and breaks it up. Drives the Joker back to Arkham. On the way back to Arkham, Joker's talking, Batman's not. Joker is trying to get in the Batman's head. And there's this whole question throughout the book of, it's that age-old question, like, is Batman responsible for his rogues gallery? And, like, is Batman's presence something that validates their methods and validates them as these super criminals? Something that gives them is Batman's presence giving them purpose and causing them to perpetrate the crimes that they are perpetrating, I guess, throughout Gotham. And this is the kind of gist of, what happens. There's this whole conversation between one of the doctors at Arkham and Batman about halfway through this issue that kind of outlines all of that. So Batman takes the Joker back to Arkham, puts him to sleep on the way back because he gets fed up with his yammering. we get to Arkham, we have the conversation between Batman and the Doctor, and there is a breakout. And pretty much most of Batman's rogues gallery makes it free. There's a big brawl. Batman manages to subdue them, but there's one missing. And that would be Dr. Jonathan Crane. And that's where we're left. That's where we're left at the end of that issue. I'm not going to go any further than that because I'll end up spoiling the hook, but that's pretty much where this issue leaves us. And it's going to deal with, from here onwards, the Scarecrow starting a riot in Arkham, and it's going to be down to Batman to kind of end that. So it's one of these kind of like Arkham Hotbox stories where it's all going down inside the asylum kind of thing. And it's pretty cool. The story's pretty good. You know, I love the writing. I have no complaint about the actual content of the story because I love a good Batman tale, and I think this is probably going to be a really good Batman tale. But the artwork, while it is really, really stellar in places, it also suffers in places because it's that over-exaggerated 90s style, you know, sometimes where it's over-muscular, sometimes where there's too much shadow, a lot of lines, and it's just an older style, and yeah, I've got a lot of nostalgia for it, but you know, the minute I take off my rose-tinted specs or look over them, I'm like, oh my god. For some of the panels especially. I mean, there's points where it's awesome and points where it just dips considerably, and it's just so inconsistent throughout this book. I mean, Kelly Jones he is a great artist, but I think I don't know what the issue is here, but there are points where I'm just looking at it and just like, oh my gosh, you really dropped the ball. Why did you do that kind of thing? And I mean, this guy, some of the projects this guy's worked. I mean, this guy's worked on Sandman. Kelly Jones has worked on Sandman. He did stuff for the Dream Country and Secrets of the Mists parts of Sandman. So, I mean, you can go back and you can check out some of the stuff he's done, and it's pretty stellar stuff. But then, like, in this book, it just seems hit and miss. And I don't know if that's because it's 2018 now and I'm looking at it, or I don't know what's causing that, but it just feels that way. I don't know. But I mean, I remember his artwork fondly from him doing covers on the Nightfall comics and things, like Batman Nightfall stuff, like from the 90s, mid-90s and whatever. So that's kind of why I went and picked this book up, because for me it's kind of a nostalgia trip, because it's like an old school Batman story, where, you know, it's like this Arkham Hotbox thing, and like the classic setup and whatever else. And we've got some old school Batman faces working on it. And for me, it's great as a fan. You're either going to get on with the art or you're not. And there are places where I can safely say you're probably not. But I enjoyed reading it, and I'm going to pick up the rest of it. So yeah, that was Batman Kings of Fear #1. I don't know whether that's sort of like, I don't know if you guys have much history with Batman outside of, I mean, like what I've told you to read at times and things like that. But I don't know if you guys have ever come across Kelly Jones before.
In Sandman, for sure. If I'm remembering correctly, it's that really heavy and quite realistic, but like exaggerated style from Sandman. I'm like just giving it a quick Google. It's like these black and white images of Morpheus where he's realistically proportioned, but it's a little bit caricatured. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure it's the style that I like the most from that entire run. But that's the only exposure I have to Kelly Jones, I think.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. You're sort of on it right there. I mean, like when you see him draw Batman, it tends to be Batman with the big long pointy ears. Like the sort of like really kind of like ghoulish Batman with claws and pointy ears Batman.
Right. I mean, people's tastes change over time, and maybe it's enough for some people to have it be that nostalgia thing. And maybe if you came back to this in another 5 years when it didn't feel like stale or like harkening back to a different time instead of trying to be fresh, then maybe you'd enjoy it a bit more or a bit differently.
It's trying to be fresh at the same time as harken back to a different time, because it's a whole fresh new story. And I mean, yeah, there's only so many places you can go with Batman. But actually no, there's more than so many places you can go with Batman, I have to say that. But I think it's trying to be fresh, and at the same time it does harken back to that time. And I think it's the fact that we've got a team of people that have previously worked on Batman back in those times, and it's just kind of like a thing being brought forward, and I quite like it for that. I do. We'll see where it goes anyway. But I quite enjoyed issue 1. I thought it was a bit of fun to read, and it's one of those things where, I mean, I go back and read old comics all the time, but it's one of those things where it's like I could have been reading this in the 90s, or when I was a kid. I could have bought this with my pocket money. That's what it feels like. So yeah. And yeah, so that's Batman Kings of Fear #1, and that is a 6-issue miniseries. So yeah, if what I've said whets your appetite, go grab it. Be warned though, like I said, it's 90s artwork. On from there, I guess it's you again, Ray, with Eternity Girl.
It is indeed. This is something that I kind of wanted to chime in when you were talking about Ice Cream Man, because it sounds very, in some ways, kind of similar in like the format of the issue that you were talking about with the ice cream, where it has 3 different layers of a story happening at the same time. Eternity Girl does a lot of that. Maybe not in the same way. It's not, it's not a linear thing, but there's this whole idea of cyclicality and like layering of stories. But to backtrack a bit, so it's I read Eternity Girl issues 1 to 6, which is basically going to be a volume at some point, but I felt like now was the right time to actually read all of them in a row, because I've been meaning to. But I think I tried reading issue #1 when it came out, and it was kind of an incomprehensible mess to me at the time, which isn't entirely the comic's fault. I think this is one of those that really benefits from reading the entire arc in one go. So this is a comic by, let me just bring up the creatives on it. So it's the writer is Magdalene Visaggio, artist and cover artist Sunny Liu, and colorist Chris Chukri, letterer Todd Klein, and then I believe there's other variant artists like Paulina Ganesho, but that's only for the first issue. I don't have the details for the rest. But it's essentially a story about a woman who can't hold herself together. She can't keep herself together, in multiple meanings of the phrase. Like I said, it's a story about the cyclical nature of eternity and a world where the same lives iterate over and over, and what it must mean to somebody who is essentially immortal. And so our lead character, Carolyn Sharp, aka Eternity Girl, gained the power to shapeshift while she was trying to stop a supervillain. And it's kind of like shades of Dr. Manhattan to her, like literally, in some ways, because she has this blue hue in her skin, and the way that she can form and reform herself and like take control of matter in her vicinity. But we learn that in this state, she's begun to unravel. And after an incident where she lost her calm and injured a co-worker by, letting her powers run wild, she's forced to sit it out and attend therapy to determine if something like this will ever happen again. And in this time, which is like a 6-month period where she's had to have a timeout and, discuss with her therapist how she feels about this change in her being and this change in her humanity that was forced upon her, she decides that her life has no purpose and attempts to end her life over and over and over again without success, because she's basically immortal. And like, I'm not as naturally drawn to things that are this nihilistic anymore, because on paper it sounds really nihilistic, and it kind of is, but it's got a colourful presentation. And maybe it's coming to me at a time of flux in my personal life where some of these themes are kind of like striking a chord. But I really enjoyed this. I mean, the book is a tangled, non-linear mess, because it does this thing where it's deliberately chopping in between scenes, going from her present and then a past that she can sort of see, and then a future that she can sort of see, and then all these layerings of different timelines. And it's trying to put you into the mindset of someone who has these powers, And she's had these powers for some time, but is only now recently finding a deeper layer to them, where she can see this layering of multiple cycles of lifetimes. And it's this vulnerable, in her vulnerable suicidal state, the same villain who caused her to have these cursed powers tries to manipulate her into breaking this cycle. In that the only way she convinces her that the only way to end her life for good is to end this cyclical nature of life. And it's kind of like a puzzle box story, but in a way that I kind of don't like, in that it's deliberately messy, and I'm not sure I loved the form and the construction of it, because it's confusing by the virtue of, like, if you were talking about the Cyanide and Happiness game, where you have these different panels and you can shuffle them and make your own story out of them. I feel like it's confusing because the deck has just been shuffled. Like they've got an idea and they've just riffled through the cards and put them together, and it's in a seemingly random way. It's not at all, because like you can tell they've put a lot of attention and detail into like how it's layered, but it's so disorientating. But what it does allow for is like some fantastically creative representations of that seeing between the layers power that she's beginning to have. So you have like some panels that can smoothly flow and weave in and out and over under each other to show these different realities. And then sometimes they smash together really jarringly, like digital fuzz acting as jigsaw pieces, which is demonstrated in the cover for issue number 1. And it's super disconcerting. And then there's one issue, I think it's either issue 4 or 5, which particularly stands out because it has these different iterations of the life cycle being drawn in different but really familiar art styles. Most notably, like like a series of Peanuts comic strips, and it's really weird and jarring to see this like depressing and nihilistic theme brought out in basically Charlie Brown like presentation, and it works really well. It's really like it gets under your skin a little bit, and like I think while this fragmented format does more to distract me from the story and confuse me than to engage me in it, but it really supports this running theme of like disorientation and loneliness and isolation that Carolyn is experiencing. And like I'm really taken with it. I have to admit I don't really understand what happened after 6 whole issues of it, but all that, like, normally when I come away feeling this confused, it means that I kind of want to drop it. But in this case, I really want to reread it and like soak it all in again, knowing what the full picture is. So I know I've not been very clear on what the story is, but I think that I don't know how to be any clearer on it, because it's such a tangled mess of ideas. But it's really charming, and I think you guys would really enjoy it. So yeah, Eternity Girl, and I'm assuming the volume will be out fairly soon.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds pretty good. So that's on DC.
It is, yes. It was DC, and we talked about this before the cast. It's DC's Young Animal, which you said you have more information on, right?
DC's Young Animal imprint, yeah, which I believe has something to do with a certain musician named Gerard Way.
Who's that?
The front man of My Chemical Romance.
Oh, so one of your heroes then.
They've got a few tracks I like. Thanks for drawing my guilty pleasure out on the podcast and putting it in digital ink.
You brought it up.
No, yeah, they've got a few tracks that I enjoy, that I've been known to enjoy. But yeah,
like multi-talented. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he writes comics and he makes music as well. And I think people really love his Doom Patrol run, which I've not read any of, but we need to get on because it's supposed to be really good. The stuff he did when he wrote Doom Patrol. He's written a fair bit of stuff for that, actually. He wrote Umbrella Academy, which I think won an Eisner.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he's done some pretty cool things. Yeah, Umbrella Academy, which it did win an Eisner for Best Limited Series, I think. Wait, did it? Hold on, am I looking at something else? First official issue of Umbrella Academy was released September 19, 2007. First issue sold out, consequently, second printing. Apocalypse Suite. Which one's Apocalypse Suite? Oh, It's the first volume. Yeah, so the first Apocalypse Suite is the first volume of Umbrella Academy. I'm getting myself mixed up here, which won the 2008 Eisner for Best Limited Series.
And the frontman from My Chemical Romance wrote that.
Yep.
He's living your best life, Greg. Frontman of a band, comic book writer.
If only. But yeah. So I guess that moves us on to Leon. Leon, what have you got?
I have got Pearl. Do you want a Pearl?
I'll take a Pearl.
Yeah. Pearl of Wisdom?
Not so much.
Okay.
More a dark alley in the shady part of town, and the criminal underground all around you.
So I've just knocked over a pawn shop. Here's a pearl I stole.
No, you've picked up the pearl from the cold dead hand of the person who tried to assassinate you. That type of pearl.
That's more of a clam than a pearl.
Yeah. The hand is the pearl.
Picked up Pearl, which is Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos's new creation. So they are the creators of Jessica Jones, and when they did the A-list run, I think from about 15 years ago or something. It feels like it was a long time ago. But now with Bendis's imprint, which is Jinxworld, I believe now that's at DC with his move to DC, and this is one of a few titles that he has running. I think the second one is called Cover. But yeah, the came across Pearl because it'd seen some chatter about it, and I was a big fan of the Jessica Jones run, but I've dipped in and out of a lot of Bendis in that time, and always hear like mixed things on the things that I've not on the titles that I've not, or runs that I have not dug into. So I thought I'd give this a go because it is the so-called dream team for me, and yeah, it's quite interesting. I'll give you the basic blurb that they put, even though I always find with these blurbs that they're like the blurb for the first 6 issues or something, because they always like say, "Oh, is that what's meant to be happening?" Because I haven't seen that happen yet, so I'll probably leave off the end. But the blurb is basically, Pearl is a story about finding out and embracing who you are, not what you were born to be. The sweeping epic romance is set against the violent backdrop of warring accuser factions in modern-day San Francisco. Pearl is a very special tattoo artist, an accidental assassin whose life is turned upside down when she falls for her counterpart from a rival faction. Don't you hate when you just accidentally assassinate someone? But yeah, it's an intriguing but slight start, because you've probably used to hearing me complain about issue 1s and how issue 1 is sort of meant to feel like the first episode or the first chapter in a story. And I find myself reading a lot of issue 1s where it feels like it's the first scene or the cold open to the main book, and so you're given very little to chew on, and then you have to wait a month. This is sort of like that, but it does set up what looks to be an intriguing world. That's something you're not really given much to go, because what happens in the book is pretty much this guy somehow sees the main character's wrist, and she has this really cool tattoo on there of this spider. But he can tell by being on the other side of the parking lot or wherever they are outside getting food, that it's by this particular artist, and that it's like a 1 in a million, and she's so lucky. And he comes off trying to be like, not to be creepy, but blah blah, and then they end up having a conversation about it, and then while they're discussing that, and she's umming and ahhing with her best friend about are these people worthy or not, because she finds out the guy's a tattoo artist, and then she is a tattoo artist. Suddenly, out of nowhere, some crazy action happens, and then it leads to her having to make amends with her Yakuza boss, and then getting a mission, and it'll be her first proper clean mission or whatever. And yeah, it's a cool start. I think I definitely need a few more issues in this world to see what they're giving us, because I mean, it's hard not to compare and contextualize with the book that they reference on the cover, Jessica Jones, or at least the Alias run of Jessica Jones. And I just feel in that first issue, it hooked me a lot more and led me to want to continue. But I'm not entirely sure what's in store, and you never really are. So it's hooked me enough that I'm willing to keep with it. And I think a big part of that is because I love Michael Gaydos' art. His like pencils, ink, and colors are so cool. Like, don't know if you've ever read their Alias run, but he has this really cool textured but washed out and diffused color style. And in this book particularly, has this very sort of digital look, in the sense that it feels like the backgrounds are still hand-drawn but computer-assisted, and then like cutouts of the characters are placed in that world, and it gives it this really cool perspective. But also during the book, he does really cool things with he experiments and messes around with the art a bit. So during the action sequence that I alluded to, you have that diffused background colors being green with red going through, and it definitely gives it a kinetic, bombastic action feel, and the juxtaposition of that with what just came before definitely plays as intense as I feel it should do. So that's quite cool. And like there's a series of flashbacks in the issue, and for the flashbacks they use he uses black lines on green ink, and it's that similar sort of brushed, diffused and washed out look, and it's really effective. And the use of those techniques and that style, as well as the character designs having a lot of personality, which I quite like. It was enough for me to be like, okay, I'll check where this is going, even slightly more so than the story, because I don't really care about spider tattoos, but obviously there's more going on beneath the surface, and this sort of San Francisco Yakuza world seems to be a fertile ground for compelling crime storytelling. And from the blurb, it hints at some Romeo and Juliet-esque stuff, which is kind of cliche. So I'm hoping it's not as lame as it sounds, and actually leads to quite an interesting run.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I need to check out the Alias stuff because I haven't checked any of that out ever. But yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Yeah, Bendis now working for DC. Like, one of the biggest things to happen was him moving from Marvel to DC, because like my experience with Bendis is his work on Ultimate Spider-Man. And he's now working on Action Comics, and he most recently made a little bit of a faux pas there, didn't he?
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah. Wrote something in a comic that he ought not to have wrote. A bit of an insensitive joke. And he got in trouble for that. With the public. And it's kind of a big mistake to make on a title like Action Comics, because this is Superman we're talking about. This is a Superman book, you know? But yeah, I mean, I should probably check out Pearl and see what it's like as well, because I need to check out his Alias run as well, because I've heard good things about it and I've never checked it out. But yeah, it'd be nice to check that out and have a look. So
the front cover of this issue is gorgeous, because I saw it advertised in Eternity Girl, and it's like this blue ethereal, possibly like almost a corpse on a slab, and you see like these blue lips and a tattoo on the neck, and this beautiful like intricate flowery tattoo on the chest. It's really nice.
Yeah. I did see the cover for it before, and I do want to check it. It looks like that. When I look at that cover, I can see the Alias books, because I remember seeing the Alias books on the shelves. And when I look at that cover, I can see it. I can see the Jessica Jones books.
Yeah, like that washed out watercolor thing.
Yeah. And this is, I think, something that they, you know, when they did the Jessica Jones TV series, I think that artwork was something that was a big influence on the way they filmed that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in the title sequence, with its use of colours and how the colours sort of intersect and overlap, that's very much like an updated sort of digital version of what they were doing in that original book.
Yeah,
for sure.
So yeah, that was Pearl number 1, and that moves us on to the last one on the list, which is fun. It's adrenaline filled and it's prophetic. It is Crowded number 1. Now, what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to reel off the creative team. So, Crowded number 1. Before we go any further, we have writer and design. So, script and design by Christopher Sabila. Pencils by A. Rose Stein. Ted Brandt on inks. Triona Farrell, colours. Cardinal Ray, letters. Juliet Capra is the editor. Dylan Todd is logo designer, and Rachel Stott is variant cover. So, Dylan Stott is the logo artist as well, should I say. So yeah, this is Crowded. First look, you have this book in front of you, this cover. It's all grey, faded, apart from these two figures in the foreground. We have a young girl posing for a selfie. With pink hair and a black beanie, and behind her is another woman standing tall, looking kind of mean, shooting daggers at the crowd with 2 guns. And then you start to notice that the crowd are looking pretty mean themselves. Some of them are actually wielding weapons, and they look like they mean business, especially the grandma in the corner with the pistol there and the little dog. So yeah, this is Crowded issue 1. Now, what we've got here is something that is like describing a future that we are kind of on our way to. Without getting too much into the story myself, because you two got to talk about it as well, right? This is it's more my speed than number 1 with a bullet. The comic edge makes the uncomfortableness bearable for me. So it's the parody edge to it that makes the fact that it's rooted in this digital world and this like this whole these questions about information and about the way we use personal information and you know, apps and things like that. It's and being fully online all the time. It's more comfortable for me to read this. It's more my speed because it's quite parodial, I guess. In that sense, it's more of a blown out comedy look at it than a horrible anxiety ridden thriller that number 1 with a bullet is.
Yeah, it's also not putting you in the shoes quite as much as number 1 with a bullet does. It's like you don't feel like this could really happen to you at this moment.
Yeah.
Like before we go too far, I want to skip to the end kind of and read out what they talk about in their like post-comic spiel by the writer.
Yep.
The original title, or one of the titles that they almost chose, overcrowded was crowdfunded, but where the dead is spelled as in DEAD, crowdfunded. And the whole point is that it's about how we have how we have apps these days where you can sell any commodity that you have, and you can crowdfund any commodity that you want or any product that you want. And in this instance, you're crowdfunding the death of somebody. That's the elevator pitch for this story.
Crowdfunded assassination. So what we've got is this this girl who is she's very this is how she makes her money off various apps. She does like 20 jobs a day or something when it lists out like what she does in her day. She babysits, she dog sits, she drives an Uber, she rents her car to people, she loans people money with like incredible amounts of interest coming back.
It's pretty much the gig economy gone wild.
Yeah, so she like lives and dies by the gig economy, and she seems to be doing pretty well for herself out of it. You know, she makes a decent living and everything, and she's got this apartment and everything else, and she's doing okay. Until all of a sudden, obviously someone's taken issue with her, and there's this app called Reaper, which is what Ray was getting towards, where you can crowdfund the assassination of somebody you don't like. And for any reason whatsoever. For some reason, this is perfectly legal. And to rival the app Reaper, that's spelled REAPR, you have an app called Defender, which is DEFNDR, I think. Am I right?
Yeah, to like ape Tumblr and whatever.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing, that kind of spelling. And Defender, like if you are a target of a Reaper campaign, you can pay for a highly trained assassin to defend you, kind of thing. So basically it's like you can rent a badass to kill someone, but that same person can rent a badass to save them.
Well, it's more like it's you can set up a Kickstarter to kill an individual, but that individual can hire like an Uber, but instead of getting a car, you get a badass with a gun.
Yeah,
right. Like because the very first page inside the cover is like a splash of our protagonist connecting through Defender to through the app Defend to a defender who has 1.5 out of 5 stars, and you get to see their conversation with the autocorrect and everything saying, "I need your help. Where are you? Can you be here within 30 minutes?" And it's you can see the whole Uber style thing where you have the picture of the defender, how far away they are, how long they're going to be before they can get to you, how long they've been in service, how many stars they've got, what you get from your package with them, and like the map with the little location sticker on it as well. Like it's so prescient, it's scary, but it's like also really funny, just the context of it.
It's more than Uber, though, because they don't just take you one car ride. They are contracted to protect you until the campaign ends.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's Defend, as you rightly said, not Defender. I got that wrong. So how are we spelling Defend?
DFEND.
Yeah, I was almost there. I just put an R on the end. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's this fun, like, adrenaline filled, like it hooks you up to an IV as soon as you open the book. You are jacked it in, and like it's like 100 miles a second, like adrenaline rush action movie stuff, and I love it. And
like not just the like the pacing of the action movie stuff, but like the pace of her life. Yeah, like you said, she's running 20 jobs in a go. Like she has all these micro jobs that she's doing, and like her life is relentless. And then like it doesn't really change that much once she's suddenly got a hit on her.
Yeah, and even in her downtime, she's just like
living by apps.
Yeah, exactly. She's still partying like so hard. Even in her downtime, like she goes out and gets absolutely blasted and like wakes up the next day, and I'm like, how do you do that? How? I wish I was still in my 20s. It's like I just, like I feel ill watching her drink because I know that I can't do that anymore. It's just, that's how it is. But like, yeah, she's brilliant. I love this character, and I love and hate this world at the same time, because obviously, having heard me talk about Number One with a Bullet, you'll know how I feel about stuff like this, how I find it very creepy and how I want to live in a log cabin with no internet connection. but like, it's just like, yeah, it's no, it's great. And this is more my speed, like I said, because it's a parody and it's fun and it's action packed and it's not this horrible anxiety ridden book full of spiders. These are my spiders. I mean, people are scared of real spiders. These are my hypothetical spiders, if you like.
Your personal demon spiders.
Yeah, my personal spiders are apps and into the internet and being exposed and everything else. Like being exposed on the internet for having like it being doxed or something like that kind of thing. This is the kind of things I fear. But and it's irrational. It's completely irrational because I don't even know why, but I just do.
Well, kind of the thing with this is you're led initially to believe that she hasn't done anything to deserve this fate, and you don't really understand what it means until the defender I've forgotten what the defender's name is. You can look that up while I'm talking, but she explains that the amount, like the price on her head, is unprecedented. Like you normally when people try to crowdfund someone's death, it's in the matter of thousands of dollars or like relatively small fry stuff, and you tend to only have like a handful of people who hate you enough to enact upon this. Whereas she's racked up, like, I think it's in the millions, and there's thousands of people. So she must have something in her character that she's done to like set this in motion. And then as the comic goes on, you kind of learn little bit things about her that are less than savory ever so slightly, or just her mannerisms or her behavior, or which can be read as either selfish, which is like an indicator of the time that she lives in, maybe because everyone's just doing little jobs to look after themselves. Like that's what it makes you, kind of like her going through her day and like doing these micro transaction jobs and then just finding some guy to pull at the end of the night and like just repeating it over and over again. And like it really fleshes out the world really well, because then you have the way she behaves, and then also like the people who take it upon themselves to basically act on this bounty that people have crowdfunded to put the hit on her head. Like you have, like you mentioned, the old lady, and what the world must be like to have this old lady open up her app and see there's an opportunity for a bounty out there, and just go out and like use her phone to locate this woman and try and kill her. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, there's a particular app that she uses in this where she gets paid to be friends with someone. Yeah, where she goes and feeds birds with an old man, and that kind of struck a chord with me because I always remember when I was looking for a job once, when I was younger, I saw an ad in the paper for an old man who wanted someone to go and watch brass bands with him.
Oh, bless.
And he was like willing to pay someone to drive him to watch brass bands and go and watch brass bands with him, which I thought was pretty. I don't know. It just hit me a little bit. It's like, wow, that's kind of sad.
He needed power rent.
Yeah,
power rent. That's it.
Yeah, power rent. Yeah, but that's it. And there's a market for everything, I guess. And yeah, and you know what? I'm flicking through the comic and I cannot find the assassin's name. The defender's name.
It's Vita.
Vita, that's it. Yeah. You got it right. So yeah, she's like really cool, and she's got like this like yellow jacket, and she's got this whole like suited thing going on with the tie and everything, like the professional look.
Yeah, I adore Vita in this. Like she's got a yellow Aeon Flux vibe to her, kind of like with the swept over hair and like the straight laced like positioning and everything.
Yeah, she's got the whole professional vibe with the black trousers, shirt and tie thing, and she's like she's hardcore. Do you know who's the you'll know this because you're like a big saga head actually. She has the big red dog with the skull and crossbones on the Saint Bernard with the poison.
Oh yeah, that shoots out poison darts from its nose.
Yeah, what is her name?
I don't actually know which character. As in the brand, was it?
It's the Will's sister.
Yeah, the brand.
The brand, yeah. That's what I get that vibe off her.
Yeah, kind of. I get what you mean.
Off Vita, yeah, because it's in the look department, in the way she's like this professional with the suit and everything, and yeah.
Yeah, and like the angular features. And,
yeah. But she's a really cool character, and I love like how like she's like the straight, basically, as like she's like the straight in the story, and the other girl, Charlie, is like the comedy, like, because she's just like being like, what the heck's happening now? And Vita's like trying to keep her head cool and everything, and she's like trying to like it's like that whole like you know, like in a good action movie, how you have like the straight and the funny man type thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah. That's what it is. That's the relationship. Like, you got one who's like the professional and one who's just, you know, like the wild card.
And, bouncing their way through it.
Yeah, and you've got Charlie there just like drinking. Like, towards the end of the comic, she's just like getting plastered by herself in Vita's house. And like the artwork in this is absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
Do you know what this book reminded me of?
What?
That sequence towards the end of John Wick 2, where like he's suddenly got a bounty on his head and all these professionals are coming after him, except he knew what the fuck he was doing, and Charlie is entirely inept. Yeah. And at the same time, all of the assassins are pretty much inept because they're basically just, you know, like they could be anybody, randos off the street who have picked up the app and seen like a quick opportunity.
They're not professionals at all. Like one of the first like groups of people that comes after is a bunch of people on their lunch break.
Yeah, and they smash into like a McDonald's XP, and the only thing that like a really good establishing moment of Vita's character where she talks them down and says, you know, I've already made one kill, so I'm already past the point of caring because I have to do some paperwork anyway, so don't push my limits. Yeah. And congratulations on just buying a door, because what you've done by smashing through this door is just have to pay for one now.
Exactly.
It's really clever dialogue.
Yeah, it's this whole like this like back to the artwork again. It's just like these vibrant colours and this punchy stylized cartoon caricature of the world that we currently inhabit there on the pages, and it's just some great action panels, and like especially the car chase. There's a car chase and it's just fantastic, and there's some awesome like onomatopoeia that's actually integrated within the art during this car chase that looks great, and I love this. I think one of the creative team during their little spiel at the back calls it diegetic sound. Diegetic, that's the word. I can't pronounce it. But yeah, as in where it's sound integrated with the imagery and you can actually see a clear source for it and everything else, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah, my favourite example of that is when she throws a cup of coffee and like the coffee spells out splash as it's leaving the cup. Yeah.
My favourite one is with the car chase with the smoke spelling out screech. And then you've got a part with an explosion where it actually says like Fakum or something like that within the explosion, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's like, it's just so good and like woven in with the art, and it just looks so good like that, and I love that kind of stuff. And the like even like with the, I mean, onto the lettering of the book itself, like the lettering position of speech is spot on as well, because it doesn't cover any of that up. Like, because sometimes you get lettering in, I mean, we don't talk about lettering enough on this cast, but sometimes you get lettering in books where they've placed speech bubbles in such awkward places. And like this is like really good at where the lettering is. It's like it's in a really nice place. It's easy on the eye. You can follow it. It's not. It doesn't obscure the artwork at all. It just looks great.
Yeah, it's not an afterthought.
It's not an afterthought. Feels like part of the book, and it's really nice. It's not intrusive or imposed. There's good positioning. It's easy to follow, and it works really good with the panel layouts, because there's some great panel layouts in this book as well. And yeah, I just thought it was just such a great first issue. And like I said, it's just way more my speed on tackling this kind of subject matter. It's way more my speed than number one with a bullet. And like, I mean, because it is, I mean, although we're talking more about the gig economy and apps and things in this, what we actually have in this book as well is the whole thing that people can just track you through your use of these apps. We have like, she has like something called a Fisco feed where people can see where she's spending money. Like, how dangerous is that? You know?
I didn't clock onto that actually. Fisco, like fiscal, like where your money's going. Yeah, that's really that's terrifying.
That's how they track her to the McDonald's, because she has a Fisco feed, you know, and they track her to the fast food place because she buys a meal. It's like, what? But yeah, it's a great book. and thoroughly into it. Thoroughly looking forward to issue 2.
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of your statements. Like, it has that cool thing I really like with the tech being like 10 minutes into the future in terms of the apps, the gig economy, the use of different bits of technology, like the not Surface as in the current Microsoft Surface, but the old Surface where it was a computer and a table. It has that technology in the restaurant, and just little things like that. I like how it has this anti-late capitalism message running through it, with just like Rahul mentioned earlier, Charlie's behavior is sort of linked to general app usage, where you dip in, dip out, use it for what you need it for, and leave out, and that plays through her jobs, her life, her personal life, and her interactions with people. And it leaves her being quite, at times, an annoying, impetuous, and quick-to-action character. But all of that feeds through with the theme, where you have, and not to go into any deep plot details, but where Vita's house is, it's like up, or like... what's it called? Batteries not included, where it's like surrounded by like industrial skyscrapers and stuff, but it's this normal 3-story house that hasn't. They never sold it off, so the skyscrapers just go around it, and it has that very cool stylized look, and the house itself is actually quite coolly laid out as well.
You do realise you're kind of giving away the location, Leon, for the assassins. Because we're putting this out on the internet, and you know.
Hey, by the time this goes out, issue 2 will be closer, so maybe they'll be fine. Maybe.
But do you know what? It took me a second reading of this comic to realize that was part of the joke. Like, because when I first read it, I thought, "Wow, this house is gorgeous. Why is Charlie like dunking on it?" And it's because like it's not what she's used to. Like, it is old fashioned in the way that we have. And like what we're living in right now would be considered old-fashioned to her, and like it's a house, it's a homely house, and that's not in her experience, and it's so weird because I don't know. I thought this 3-story like wooden building looked gorgeous.
Oh yeah, man! When I saw it, it's like, damn, I want to live in the attic. You know,
100%, right?
Yeah, but obviously that's not what kids are into in those days. You know, so there we go.
Yeah, well, and it's like. I think what it nails really well with that stuff that you guys are talking about is the possible future of like Generation Z, and having grown up with Instagram and Twitter and these apps, Uber, Tinder, and all that. It gives a very sort of interesting look into what happens when those things are taken to the nth degree, and there's no regulation with that stuff. And it obviously looks like quite a dark future, and it does give off, like linking back to the whole 10 minutes in the future thing. It does give that very Black Mirror vibe. Particularly reminds me a lot of the season 3 episode 1 Nosedive episode.
Yeah.
Like where people rate each other,
right?
Yeah. The episode where people rate each other. Like it does have that feeling where everything's running on electric, but like we're not seeing the true. We're seeing the depraved behavior that this stuff leads to, but we're not seeing the real socio-economic like reverberations. Like we're not seeing who's been swept under the carpet with all of this. So it is very, in ways, it's very pointed in what it's saying, and I kind of like that it has such a strong stance and is delving into things in quite a like comedic, but in ways grim fashion. I think the character designs like you were saying about the art, I think the character designs are really cool, and I think they give so much personality in such a short amount of time. And what the comic does well, as a combination of that and the writing, is where these characters could easily be archetypes. So the main character could be counted as like millennial who just lives on apps. And the Vita could be counted as like, just a cool, calm assassin type thing. With both of them, we get hints of something more and something different. Very interesting, especially this montages, like in the flashbacks or montages that we see, and also in the characters speaking to themselves when no one else is around. You get a deeper fragment of what's under the skin of these characters, and I really like how efficient it does that. And in contrast to Pearl, where I was saying the end of the issue doesn't feel like the end of the chapter, this definitely, I don't know, it feels structured in a way where it ended, I'm like, I'm on the edge, and I need to see what happens next. And I think it's really effective with that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with everything you just said there. I loved every second of this book, and yeah, I cannot wait for issue 2. So that was that was Crowded #1, published on Image Comics, and that has brought us to the end of our list of books for this episode. So I guess we should crack on with the pull list, shouldn't we, Ray?
Yeah, go for it.
And
dive in.
Yeah, we'll start with the 29th of the 8th, 2018, and I tore a puddy cat. And you know what? I think I did. It's the Catwoman Tweety and Sylvester special is out on the 29th of the 8th, and that's on DC. And this is more Looney Tunes meets DC characters stuff. You've also got the Joker and Daffy Duck special. So those are the two on my list. Those are the two I want. And I think you've got one as well, Ray?
Yeah, I picked up the Lex Luthor Porky Pig special.
Yeah. The only one,
all of these sound great.
Yeah, the only one I think none of us are interested in, or none of us have put on our list at least, is the Harley Quinn Gossamer special.
More because I don't know what Gossamer is. Who's that?
Just a big orange monster. I've seen him appear in a couple of episodes of various Looney Tunes stuff, but like, I don't know Gossamer that well as just Gossamer kind of thing.
I just googled him. Yeah, I know Gossamer. This guy's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna pick that up as well then.
Yeah, okay. So you know Gossamer now.
Yeah, the big hairy red monster. Yeah,
I know him. I know him from other Looney Tunes stuff where he's appeared in other Looney Tunes. I've not seen much solo Gossamer in my time.
Yeah, he's always fighting with Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
right?
I've seen him appear in Bugs Bunny and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Isn't he where he like, I'm gonna pet him and love him and name him something? Is that Gossamer?
Maybe, I don't know. I remember him like being almost a Frankenstein XP, but he's actually kind of adorable at the end of it all.
Yeah, I think I've got the wrong thing when I'm saying that, because I know that's from an old Looney Tunes cartoon or something, but I just remember those lines, and it's like him with a pet kind of thing. But if that's Gossamer...
It's been a while. We could both be right or wrong.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Catwoman and Tweety and Sylvester, just the cover just looks amazing. Have you seen the cover of that? Just this like really mardy looking black and white cat that just reminds me of my own cat. With a bird in his hand, and like he's been grabbed by the scruff of the neck by Catwoman, and Catwoman's just looking a little bit unimpressed kind of thing. So yeah, definitely. And the Joker and Daffy Duck one, because that's just going to be out there somewhere. You know. The next thing we've got out on the 29th, so we've got all those DC Looney Tunes specials for you to pick up and laugh at, peruse, because I'm sure they're going to be hilarious. We've also got the X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis #2. So this is part 2 of the thing that me and Leon discussed last time, which is X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis, which is part 2 of the whole X-Men Grand Design project that Mr. Ed Piscott is working on at the moment. So definitely check that out, because it's been thoroughly impressive so far. We have the conclusion to the latest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini run, weekly thing, which is the Bebop and Rocksteady Hit the Road #5. So this is Bebop and Rocksteady's road trip coming to a madcap end, I guess. It's the best way to put this. It's been a hell of a ride, I must say, for the the first 4 issues. And in true Bebop and Rocksteady style, I expect it to go out with a mistimed, misinformed, undereducated bang. I guess is the best way I can put that, because those two are lovable boneheads. I mean, they're just
bang.
they're just like it's not like I think they're just bad people by design. Like, if I had to give them a D&D alignment, I'd say chaotic evil, because even when they've got a boss, they can't follow rules. They just do whatever the hell they want to do, and it's usually something bad. Like, even when they're trying to be good, like there's a point where they decide they want to try and be heroes. Even when they're trying to be heroes, they end up being bad. It's like they just can't help themselves. And Ray, you got anything else for the 29th?
29th, something that I picked up on because I read Pugnacious back in the day. I think that was quite a few months ago now.
Yeah.
Same publishing company, Belfast City Comics, with Henry Roscoe number 4. So, sorry, I didn't even mention the comic. Henry Roscoe, issue number 4. I think they're also giving away issues 1 to 3, and I've been meaning to read these for a while just because I liked the stuff they put out in the past. So, yeah, I'll be checking that out, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Snap on with that one. And then we're into September now, so that's it. Summer's done.
Oh God,
it's autumn now. but that's okay, because autumn's awesome. It's the best season. Do you know what happens in autumn?
The sun dies.
Billions of spiders. That's
Oh
what
my
you love
God.
so much.
Halloween.
Halloween can do one,
and also
I'd rather if I could swap. If I could get rid of Halloween and not have any spiders, I'd be fine with it.
But do you know what's happening in September that we're all going to? It's Thought Bubble.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See, something to look forward to.
Will there be spiders at Thought Bubble?
Probably, because it's autumn.
My thought bubble says no.
So, yeah, that is... so now we're into the 5th of September, and we have a Silver Surfer annual, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, what this says here blurb-wise... so, Silver Surfer annual number 1, and this is by Ethan Sachs and Andre Lima Araujo, and we've got Philip Tan, the cover artist, and Marcus Martin does a variant cover. So Andre Lima Araujo is a artist on the book. Now, so I'll just read this out. So, what mysteries await buried deep within the cosmic multitudes of the Marvel annals? Why, it's an untold story of the dark and tragic past of the Silver Surfer, brought to you The Mighty Marvel Way by Ethan Sachs, writer of Old Man Hawkeye. Now, I don't know what's untold about the Silver Surfer's origin. I mean, got this dude, his planet's about to be eaten, and he strikes a deal with the Devourer so that his planet doesn't get eaten. Unless they're going to tell us something else that we don't already know. Which I'm hoping they do, because, yeah, I mean, this sounds awesome. If it is going to be something that, you know, if it is something we don't already know, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, because it's Silver Surfer and we don't get enough Silver Surfer these days. So this is Ethan Sachs, the guy behind Old Man Hawkeye, and Andre Lima Araujo of the Thanos Annual. So I've got the Thanos Annual. It's brilliant. Anxious to find a world worthy enough to sate the mighty hunger of Galactus, Norrin Rad's early explorations as the Devourer's new herald bear no fruit, until the Surfer discovers an exotic alien planet teeming with life and energy enough to finally satisfy his master. But can the Surfer really doom an entire sentient civilization just to save his own? So okay, right, yeah, so it is going to tell us something new. This is after he struck the deal. This is him being like, okay, so kind of don't want to do this, but going to have to do this. Do I really want to do this? Can I? So this is like the whole ethics thing that comes into the Silver Surfer. So yeah, this should be pretty cool. We've also got that week Cosmic Ghost Rider number 3, and that's it for me. Just those two. Where are we going with you, Ray?
Yeah, slim pickings on my side as well. I think So I picked up, or I'm going to be picking up the Raid number 2, which comes out on the 5th. Again, just because it's the Raid, and I completely missed the first one, so I'll be picking up both if I can. And that's a Titan book. And then something called Cover, which is another Brian Michael Bendis book. And it just looks interesting. It seems like, if I read the blurb quickly, it says, deep in the American intelligence community, someone realizes that comic book creators who travel all over the world to sell their wares might make the perfect cover for operatives in the dangerous, topsy-turvy world of intelligence and counterintelligence. Seems like a cool meta story, so I'll be checking that out.
Is this like based on the life of Tom? I can't remember his name. We talk about him all the time. The Batman writer, the Mr. Miracle writer.
Tom King.
Tom King, yes.
Possibly. It doesn't mention him anywhere in this blurb.
Because there was that whole thing where he said he was an intelligence agent and now writes comics.
Yeah, it may well be, because it does say it's kind of based on a true story, sort of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll find out. But he doesn't seem to be involved in it in any way, according to this blurb, at the very least. Yeah, that's a little close to be true, I reckon. So a little too close to not be true, I guess. Maybe it's a coincidence, I don't know. But maybe we're going to get the story of Tom King, the origins of this fantastic writer who brings us all these brilliant comics. That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
And from there, where we're going.
And the final one, again, this is picked up purely based on the fact that I like I'm judging a book by its cover, called Viewertron.
Yep.
And apparently it's Sam Sharp and Peach S. Goodrich returning to their Eisner-nominated series, and with a new series, Viewertron, from Ad House Books. Apparently it's going to feature 7 different stories that elucidate the search for meaning in life in 7 very different ways. So, sounds cool. I'm digging the cover. Like, it's a giant hand and a man standing on it, looking all wistful with a little love heart coming out of him. It's cool.
Yeah. That is the pull list for the 5th of September. So, yeah, there's some pretty good titles coming. I mean, like I say, I mentioned Cosmic Ghost Rider number 3. The first 2 have been fantastic, and if you're into that, grab number 3. So that will close us out. So this is Ace Comicals signing off. You can find us at www.acecomicals.com. That is kind of like the hub for everything. You can find links to all our other stuff on there. We have a Facebook page under Ace Comicals. You can find us on Twitter at Ace Comicals. You can find us on Instagram under Ace Comicals. You can find us to listen to us in hundreds of different places. A few of which I will mention. So we're on Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Castro. I mean, you can listen directly from our website as well. You can find me on Twitter under @Bato, where you can, get involved in the conversation, send us questions to for the podcast. You can send them to me, or you can send them on the Ace Comicals Twitter feed. Get involved with the conversation on the Ace Comicals Twitter feed. You can also send questions to acecomicals@gmail.com. Ray, where can we find you?
On Twitter @Monkeh, so that's @MOONKEH. And everyone should tweet Greg just really cryptic messages saying, "I can see you." Please don't do set off his internet rage.
Please don't do that. Honestly, you know the feeling you arachnophobes get when you see spiders. You know that horrible crawling feeling that you probably experience when you're thinking there's a spider in the room and you don't know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now imagine that's me every day with the internet.
That's how Google Maps makes you feel.
Yes.
Right.
Things knowing where I am. No. Not because I've got anything to hide, but because I just it's this whole being on the grid thing. It's just not good. But yeah, Leon, where can we find you?
Right behind Greg.
But I don't leave messages on the back of spiders and then complain later that I don't like spiders, Greg.
I didn't leave messages on the back of spiders, do I?
No, but you use the internet every day.
You communicate mostly through online means, right?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
You speak to an entire audience through like the digital vibrations of the internet. So
That's a deal with the devil.
I know that's just the thing. It's just, I mean, like, if I can control what I'm putting out, I guess it's more the control thing. If I can control what I'm putting out there, that's fine. But when there's like backdoors and stuff like that, and people are able to see stuff and track my behavior via things, that's what I don't like.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's where my fear comes from. The fact that my internet usage, as innocent as it is, me just setting up this podcast and having a Twitter feed and everything else like every other, I don't know, human being on the planet, I guess, people can still track me, and that's the thing that I don't like. The fear of it, the fact that my that they have, it makes the wall between my information and the world thinner, I guess.
And it's only going to get thinner and thinner.
I know. Tracking me by my
I was going to
Fisco
say,
feed. Yeah.
I feel really bad now. Please don't tweet Greg random horrible stuff. Send him actual questions about comics and cheer up his day.
Yes, talk to me nicely. Leon, did you give out your Twitter feed?
No, I was interrupted. You can find me on Twitter at Leon Everett. You can also find all three of us in Leeds City Centre at Fort Bubble on the 22nd and 23rd of September. Please make it up, and if you see us, say hi.
Yes,
love to have a chat with you.
Yeah, we'll be walking around that weekend. We're there for the whole convention, the whole weekend, the 2 days. Come and have a chat with us and things like that, and we will, if you've got questions and things, we can stick them up in the podcast. So, yeah, that has been Ace Comicals episode number 42. That's Ace Comicals, over and out.
Comics are for everybody.